Hey everybody, Pat Wallace here with you. Wanted to share these archived videos with you from the 2020 election. These are your incumbents and some of the return challengers. Now, this is your chance to reply. This is your chance to make a difference. Now check it out. Hey Tuskegee, welcome to another episode of Tuskegee Online, the program that gets you up and close and personal with the candidates that are seeking your vote on August 25th, 2020. In the studio, we have Mr. U.L. Brownlee, who is pursuing the office of District 2 Council Member for the City of Tuskegee. Welcome to our forum.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yes, Mr. Brownlee, could you please state your name, the office you are seeking, and define that role and the responsibilities of that office as you see it?
Sure. My name is U.L. Brownlee. I am vying for the office of District 2 City Council Person. And I see that role as a spokesperson for the citizens of District 2 as well as the citizens of the City of Tuskegee. Somebody who is willing to fight the good fight and do what's right for the right reasons, in a nutshell.
All right, sir, could you please give us your vision for the City of Tuskegee?
My vision for the City of Tuskegee, I did something that's quite unusual for me, is I took some notes because there's so much information, and we're in such a situation here in Tuskegee, I tell you. But I see Tuskegee as a mecca for our people to nurture business. I think it's very important that our young people get involved in not just in government, but I think it's important that we have good, sound, effective leadership, good communication, and I believe that Tuskegee has everything it needs to be a great mecca and a manufacturer or a producer of not just good people, because we've produced very good people throughout, the years. But I believe that business is a must for us. We must make a turnaround, and this is citywide. There's some things that has to happen, some hard decisions that have to be made, and I'm willing to step up to the plate. As I've shown, I'm not a politician, and I tell everybody that. I'm a hardworking family man, a coach, a mentor, and what I'm doing now is something that I've been doing over the last 20 to 30 years, and that is working to restore, to help, to rebuild, to redevelop, to reconstruct, not just physical buildings like people always say. They see me dressed, like a working man, and I am a working man, but, it's a mindset that needs rebuilding. It's a sort of self-confidence that our people must have, in order to have the pride reinstilled in our community. The pride has unfortunately left us. I'm really, really passionate about business, and everybody who knows me knows that. I'm very passionate about the youth, and I'm a father. That's very important to me. Also, I want to just, talk a little bit about the things I'm passionate about. I'm a fourth generation Tuskegean. My grandfather, Roy Frank Wilson, was one of the 623 men in the syphilis study here in Tuskegee. As a child growing up, in my mind, Tuskegee was the greatest thing, for our people, and I migrated here 30 plus years ago, and I've been in business one form or another ever since I've been here, so I have been fighting the good fight. I want the people to understand that I will go to work and fight for you as I have been fighting all the time. I'm a grassroots person. I'll take nothing and turn it into something. And that's what I've been doing. It's not something that's brand new to me. and I'm not new to this. I'm very true to this.
Okay, thank you. Let's get specific here with regard to District 2, the district that you're running for to represent. There has been a lot of citizen concern about the dumping issue in District 2. While the city is trying to beautify and attract tourism and businesses, many of the streets have become illegal trash piles.
Sure.
And some of these trash piles have even blocked some of the roads in the district, it's been pointed out to us. What, as a city council member, do you plan to do about this problem in District 2?
Very good question. I'm glad you asked me that question because a number of years ago when I first started with the rebuilding of the city lake and working with that project, Mr. Smith, Harvey Smith, was our city manager at the time, and I came up with this concept, and it wasn't new, but it may have been new to some, and that is that people have trash. They need to dump their trash. We know that we don't have a recycling situation going on here that's secure. We know that out on the height where everybody used to take the trash, you can't anymore. So I came up with this idea that we should place dumpsters in specific places so that the citizens would have a place to dump. Of course, they had to make it a budget line item. To me, it's not that serious. People have to dump trash somewhere. It's unfortunate, that they, dump it on the streets, and then we have to go back. But we have to be proactive in our thinking in terms of getting ahead of the curve as to where we know the trash has to come out. The furniture has to come out. When I first started at the lake, there was a recycling bin across the street, and it was not quite full. But I started, not for pay, I started to collect those things from the citizens, open the gate, have them put it in individual bins, and when it got full, I went to the city to say, hey, somebody's got to take this out now, because now we've got rats, we've got snakes. They didn't even know where the existing contract was, that was, who started it, or, any of that stuff. And it was just, so I said, well, if you can't do that, then just remove it, So I think the proactive approach is the answer to that, basically.
Thank you. Staying on this theme of beautification, I think a lot of the citizens are familiar with your work around the city lake. What are your plans for beautification of the lake, the downtown area, and some of the other parts of District 2 that need help?
Pat, you nailing it. I got to give you that. Very good question. Because I do have I'm a writer. I write things. I get up in the middle of the night and write ideas down. I'm a businessman. I've been self-employed for over 30 years. And I'm a visionary. So I have these visions and thoughts about it, like I had with the boathouse that had been dilapidated and in disrepair for almost 20 years. We all watched it go down. And my brother and I, brought that thing back and turned it into a viable situation. And the plan was to come uptown and do exactly the same thing that we did there. And I won't go into the details of how the deal was structured, but it was a structured situation that was a win-win for me as an investor and for the city. But, what happens unfortunately, is that the accountability, doesn't happen, and people don't follow through. You know what I mean? So when you do your part and other people don't do their part, what are you left to do? But one of the big things I'm real adamant about is the cleanup. And everybody's talking about the cleaning up of the trash, but I think it's a mindset that needs to be cleaned up as well. You know what I mean? We have to educate the people on the importance, of trash. We put out 46 signs around that lake, and about 14 of them said that there was a $500 fee for dumping trash, and you know how many tickets have been written for dumping trash? So we have to have a proactive approach. Yeah, we have to have a follow through, and there has to be accountability, man. That is paramount. One of the things I also do is, I develop and I'm involved in real estate, and some people know that, but I've been buying old houses and fixing them up for over 20 years now. And, you know, the downtown that's in disrepair, you know, it's not rocket science to me. You know, investigating, we have everything in this community that we need. I can't say that enough, because we know who these homeowners are. We know that there are abatement laws. We know what we need to do, but we just have to do it. You know, one of the things about me is that I can talk, we can talk all day, but I like to work. I'll be working and talking to you at the same time, because I believe that we are in a situation now where we've talked ourselves, you know, into some more holes, and now we have to dig ourselves out of those holes. And it's okay to talk, but it's better when you implement and work.
Thank you very much. Next question for you. Many citizens are concerned and have been for a while about the progress at exit 38. Now, understanding and considering that there have been some delays caused by the health crisis recently, could you please give the citizens a realistic idea of when you expect that this project could be fully operational and out of the construction mode?
That's a really good question, and you know, because I am in the construction business and the building business, and I have been for most of my adult life, I passed by there and saw, you know, Jeff's project there just this morning, and just a glance, you know, and in my mind, it's not going to happen in a couple of weeks. I just don't see that happening. There's a lot that is yet to be done, but that's Jeff's project. You know what I mean? That is Mr. Potter's project, and I think he's doing an awesome job. And I know it was on the burner for a while, you know, and I'm glad that it is happening. But it's on to the next. We need to be trying to think about what's next after that. That's his project. It's solidified. He's getting it going. When it comes, it comes. But what about the next move and the next move? Because we're so far behind. There's so much work to be done. We don't have time, you know, to be hesitating and waiting. It's time to move, and the time is now. And I'm a firm believer of that.
Thank you. Another issue that the whole city is facing, and not just your district, is the problem of the housing crisis in the city. And it does affect the students a lot more. What would you, as city council person for District 2, do to mitigate that problem in the city?
Again, very good question. And like I said before, I have been working for tirelessly for a number of years in getting affordable, decent housing prepared, not just for students, but for people in the community. You know, one of the things that is dear and near to me is having people. You know, I don't rent places that I wouldn't live in. That's number one. You know, so if it means that, you know, a place is not ready for 3 months, that's fine. You know, one of the things and ideas that I had some time ago was to introduce the city to a partnership, you know, with local business people, local entrepreneurs, developers, business people that have a vested interest in this community, because all of these properties are not just dilapidated properties. See, you got the other side of that is that once you tear down a property, providing you can do that, and we can afford to do that, you've got the maintenance problem. You know what I mean? It grows up, the moisture and things that grow so fast, you know, you've got a whole nother issue. So I thought about another idea, which is go within the community and use the resources that we have whereby people like myself or like yourself or any of us who want to make an investment in the property and say, hey, maybe this property doesn't need to be torn down. Maybe this property is rentable. Maybe it's fixable, you know. So I bring that to the table. That's what I bring to the table. As a real estate, you know, person, I've never had this great desire to be a real estate guru, I gotta tell the truth. But I believe in a few solid things, and one of them is generational wealth. You know, and I think again that, you know, everything that we need in this community to be a viable force, you know, not just inside this community, but throughout this nation, we already have it. Gathering the resources is important.
Okay, one more question before we move on to our online question. Many of the people who live in and close to the city of Tuskegee are experiencing hunger. Have you been involved in feeding programs? And if so, what is it and how were you involved?
Well, in most recent times, I haven't been directly involved, but I used to take my children when they were a few years younger. They've gotten a little older now, and in high school, the youngest, my two youngest are in high school now. But I used to take them to 199 for 3, 4, 5 years in a row and volunteer with my good friend, Brother Thorne down there, and we did that religiously. So, there's some other feeding programs around, but very quickly, I know that the homeless situation in this community is real. My children on holidays, I cook at home, I'm a cook too, I used to be in the restaurant business, but we cook, we make plates, we distribute them throughout the community. So I know that these things exist. I am that person who does not have the big I, little U concept of living in this community. I don't have that. You know what I mean? If that means that I have to talk to the person who is homeless, or I have to educate him on how to make $1 or earn $1 in order to feed himself or feed his family, that's what I have to do. That's what I have to do. And I always say that I'm decent in the boardroom, but I hit the streets running.
Thank you very much. Now we're going to move on to our online questions with Miss Elise Tolbert. Miss Elise?
Good evening.
Good evening, ma'am.
And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. If you have questions that you would like to ask, please enter those questions into the chat box, starting with your first and last name. The first question comes from Douglas Nicholas Jr. The question is, as councilperson, what will you do differently to promote change and rebuild this city if elected?
Ms. Nicholson, good evening, and thanks for your question. I intend to hold meetings bi-weekly, and what I intend to do is bring the concerns of the citizens that I already have that are listed. I've been attending the District 2 meeting for the last 5 or 6 years, religiously, and I'm not new to this. I'm at the council meetings all the time, so I'm very aware of what's going on in this community, very, very aware. I think it's very, very important to get involved at a grassroots level so that we know and have our thumb on the pulse of what is really going on in the community and not speculating as to what might be happening here or there. So I think hitting the ground running would be a great answer to that question, Mr. Nicholson, and anybody who knows me knows that I'm a man of my word,
Thank you. The second question comes from Yawanda Creighton. Her question is, as a dedicated father, how will you juggle the position as city council member and continue being a father?
It's called multitask times 10, something like that. That's kind of what I do. I have been a single dad raising 4 children. My 2 are grown. My son just went to college yesterday, and my daughter is a business owner that most people know. Naish is a 22-year-old hairdresser who owns her own salon. This is her 2nd year. So I think juggling that is the way I do it. I include my family in everything that I do. I include my community in everything that I do. I'm very transparent. I believe in transparency. And I'm a God-fearing man. So what God has for me is for me.
Thank you. The next question comes from Kendrick Hooks. The question is, do you support finding a way to remove the Confederate statue and replace it with a more honorable and culturally appropriate monument?
Really good question. I think it's very, very important that this community takes a stand and, follows through. As I've always say, following through is very important. Takes a stand and follows through with the removing of the statue. I was at the meeting when they had over at the Gomillion building a number of years ago when, the Daughters of the Confederacy representatives were present, and I sat next to them purposely, for the uneasement, to let them know that, we're human beings, and we need to find a way to get this fixed. and get this worked out. Do I support putting up another statue? I think what represents this community and what is good for the overall is what I support. I believe wholeheartedly that the needs of the many always outweigh the needs of the few, and I live my life in accord with that. Whether that means that I'm on the low end of the totem pole or on the high end, it is what it is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next question comes from Latifa Muhammad. The question is, will you continue to work at the boathouse as councilman?
It's a really good question. That one has come up a number of times. What I do at the lake and the boathouse is provide a service for these citizens in this community. That is not about money, and I need to clarify that one more time. That is not about money. I've made an investment. The city has made some investment in it some time ago. That's one that remains to be seen. The service needs to continue. You know, whether that means that I don't want to be in conflict, you know, with the position. So if that means that, you know, I have to find someone else, or we have to find someone else to continue that service, because people have it wrong. They think it's just a business. That is a service. You have to travel 40 miles to get any bait and tackle in anywhere around. And there's a lake every 3 miles in Macon County. A lot of people don't know that. But people come from Montgomery to Tuskegee, from Auburn, Opelika, from Hurtsboro. People come from all over Shorter, and they just want crickets sometimes. They just want crickets. They just want to spend $2.25 to get crickets. But you can't get them anywhere else. So it's a service, and also, and I'm glad you asked that question, because I also buy, sell, and trade and repair rods and reels. The only place close enough to you that repairs rods and reels is Bass Pro Shop in Prattville, Alabama. And believe me, it costs, you know. So it's a service that's provided, and it needs to continue as such.
Thank you. The next question comes from McQueen Umi. Their question is, do you have any specific ideas that you'd like to share about generational wealth and how to build generational wealth?
And I love my people. I really do, you know, because I would probably summarize that as hard work. And when I say hard work, because I work with my hands and I've been gifted and blessed to be able to do that, doesn't always mean just with my hands. You know, I mean with my mind, with my thoughts, with building relationships with people inside and outside this community. It's very important. But I would gladly love to, outside of here, share with you, you know, what I did. And what I have is my lived experience. That's what, you know, that is my blessing, that is my benefit. My lived experience is what I bring to the table.
Thank you. The next question comes from Naisha Brownlee. The question is, what is your definition of having a new generation of leadership as District 2 Councilman? What will you do differently to change and or make our current city issues better from your position?
Very good question, Naisha. Love you, by the way. Inclusiveness is very, very important. One of the things that, you know, I've often heard over the last 30 years is this dissemination, in my opinion, of falsehood about town and gown and how difficult it is to get the gown involved in the town. It's not that difficult. You know, these are our children. They're not, you know, foreigners. They don't speak another language. You know what I mean? Because they come from different situations and circumstances. You know, I don't have this big I, little you concept, and I said that before. You know, I work with children and work with people. I don't have to be your friend in order to work with you. My idea is, Naisha, to include the youth with the seniors. You know, I have a almost 90-year-old mother who I love and adore and who I've been caring for on a big level. And she's very independent. But I really believe that building relationships with people is our solution to a lot of what we have. We've got to take off the hat of I'm this and you're that. You know what I mean? We have to do the inclusiveness thing if and when we're going to grow this bright, wonderful opportunity that we have that is in front of us. So we don't have time for separation. And, you know, based on our current status and our current situation, we need to move, and we need to move now. You know, and that's where I am with it. And I hope I of all the people, I hope I answered her question.
Thank you. The next question comes from Tiffany Williams. The question is, as a business owner and reflecting back to the start of your business, did you encounter challenges with the city in regards to getting started? And do you have a stance or platform to overcome those obstacles?
I can't express or stress enough about the relationship building importance. We know what's happening in this community. It's not a mystery to any of us, and I'm just one of those persons who like to tell the truth, whether I'm in the right or wrong. The truth is what it is, and speak it whether it's against you or for you. But I think I encountered some difficulties and challenges, but I'm one of those persons, I gotta tell you this, I'm one of those persons who no means yes to me, because I need to find another way of getting you to understand that this has to happen. It's not something that, is up for negotiation. As long as we play by the rules, in other words, whatever the rules that are in place currently, I'm not one of those persons that are just gonna, go against the grain or against the rules. But I am a stickler for doing the right thing for the right reasons. You know what I mean? So, yeah, we have people in places who don't quite understand the business concept that we must, move forward. We must open the door for people to come in if we want to grow. And my suggestion is that we open that door in our community first. One thing I know for sure, and I teach this to my children, is if we don't keep home in check, how can we expect, the outside to be in check? If we don't respect ourselves, how can we expect other people to respect us? They're not, and that's not even realistic. So I think the work starts within. The work starts within. So, and I'm, anybody that knows me knows that I'm pretty much an open book. And in terms of business, I teach my children, I teach people that I don't know. People call me all the time and ask me about, business things, because I've been in business most of my life. That's who I am, that's what I know. And now I'm willing to share my experiences, given the strength that I have, and give this community some more hope and a future to look forward to. We all know what our potential is. We talk about it all the time. But it's time for action. It's time out for the old way of doing business. The conventional methods of doing business have gotten us to where we are. It's time to step outside the box and do some non-conventional, realistic ideals about business. It's somebody else's turn. That's the bottom line to it.
Thank you. The next question comes from Ms. Lenora Gould. Her question is, do you own the boathouse business, or does it belong to the city? If the city owns it, does the city council choose who's in charge?
Well, Ms. Gould, I would assume that you were probably at the meeting when all of this transpired, because it's been almost 7 years ago since I've been at that boathouse. But the physical structure, I do not own. I have no desire to own the lake or the physical structure. Let's make that very clear. But the contents and the building of the business itself, I do own. If that answers your question.
Thank you. We have no further questions from the audience at this time.
Thank you, Ms. Tolbert.
Thank you, Mr. Brownlee, for being on our forum. Could you please take a moment and tell the citizens of District 2 and the city of Tuskegee why they should elect you as their next representative and city council member for the city of Tuskegee?
Well, thank you, and I am a visionary, for one. I wrote something that I'd like to read, if that's okay, and it just says that my vision for the city of Tuskegee is to create a community with a loving, wholesome environment that is inviting and clean, with a clear direction for the future of our city, with special attention given to our rich history, while creating a new history for generations to come. If not now, Tuskegee, then when? Timing is everything. I strongly believe that. And it is our time to be a phoenix and rise from the ashes of despair, from the words and worlds of abandonment. We need to care for our seniors better, our children better, our homeless population better. We are one Tuskegee, and the division must stop. Now, this election is a critical election to the growth and development. The world is watching us. As we transition ourselves, let us consider the future, because our past is what has gotten us where we are. Change is a must. I know these are strong words, my Tuskegee family, but it's critical times, and our future depends on the right leadership. It's time, Tuskegee. It's time to change, it's time to grow, it's time to open the doors and be transparent. I hope I answered the question, Pat. That's all I can say.
Thank you, Mr. Brownlee, for joining us on Tuskegee Online. And thank you, viewers, for your questions tonight. And stay tuned for our next candidate, Miss Jacqueline Grant. And please check your Facebook feed, as more questions could come in after the program today. I'd like to thank our chat box monitor, Miss Elise Tolbert, our timekeeper, Miss Lucinia Dunn, our hostess, Marion Garman. Our Zoom pilot today is Mr. Bill Perry, and our AV programmer is Kim Motor City with Anointed One Productions. Stay tuned. We'll be right back in a few minutes.
Okay, that was that. Now this is your time and this is your chance to make a difference in your community. Make sure you make comments and reply. Stay tuned, because we expect to have some more videos coming soon. Make sure you go out to the polls. Thank you, Tuskegee.